You got a small loss of 31 points on the Dow, so let's get right to the IRS story. Commissioner John Koskinen, he'll be back on Capitol Hill tonight in front of Darrell Issa's committee. The latest is that the IRS had used a private company to archive its emails. And right before those emails were lost, the contract ended. Again, I'll say it, how convenient. We're joined now by Republican Senator from Utah, Orrin Hatch. Senator, welcome back to the program, sir.
Well, happy to be with you, sir.
I have to tell you that our viewers, I think, are exasperated at this because we've been told on this program that to get those emails, to retrieve them, is pretty simple. We're all wondering, why doesn't anybody move heaven and earth to go get those emails?
Well, we have moved heaven and earth, and we've been getting stopped at every step of the way. For instance, they said that Lois Lerner's hard drive crashed, and then all of a sudden we find that they got rid of the hard drive. Makes you wonder, doesn't it? Then you had this group, software, I can't remember what the name of it is, but this group that was supposed to archive emails that did up to about 2009, right about the time when these things happened, then all of a sudden they didn't do anything beyond that. You could go on and on. There's just a lot of things that are very suspicious here. The IRS requires you and me to keep our records for 3 years. Why in the world can't the IRS keep their records for at least that long, and especially in something as serious as this?
But this is obviously a very serious thing. What we're talking about here is potentially that the government, in the middle of a presidential election campaign, used the machinery of government, the IRS, to suppress the conservative vote. That's a very serious thing. Do you think we're just going to run the clock out on this thing? We won't get to the bottom of it until President Obama is out of office?
Well, it certainly looks like they're doing everything they can to get out from underneath this. But, yeah, what they did is really wrong. Usually when you file for a 501c4, you should not have a rough time getting it approved. Some of them were waiting 3 years. The conservative groups, they said, well, there were a couple liberal groups. Yeah, there were maybe a couple, but almost every conservative group got held up and mistreated and treated like they're, like they're not equal citizens. And frankly, it was wrong. Also, we had a number of my colleagues who called on the IRS to give them a rough time. So, these are kind of things that, and these were Democrat colleagues, of course, and these are the kind of things that really have caused me a lot of angst.
Well, it's caused our viewers a lot of angst. Our viewers just can't understand why something this serious is treated so lightly. Where is the New York Times investigating this? If this were a Republican administration, it would be front page news for months on end, but it's not.
Well, can you imagine? I mean, we still hear complaints about the 18 minutes of President Nixon. Well, here we have 2 full years from 2009 to 2011. Not only did we have Lois Lerner's hard drive breakdown and crash, but all of a sudden we find out, and by the way, last Monday, a week ago, I met with the distinguished chairman of our committee, Senator Wyden, with John Koskinen and 3 others. Now, at least one of those knew that the other 6 had crashed and didn't mention a thing to us, and I suspect all 4 of them knew that the 6 others had crashed as well. And one of those was Nicole Flax's. Now, Nicole Flax was the chief of staff to Mr. Miller, who was fired in the end. And oddly enough, we find that she made a multiple number of trips down to the White House. We wonder what that was all about. They don't cooperate. They're not giving any answers to these things. And I've got to tell you, this really is suspicious.
Okay. Senator Orrin Hatch, Republican, Utah. Thanks very much for being with us. As always, Senator, we do appreciate it. Thank you.
Nice to be with you.
Yes, sir.